The morning Olivia Fletcher arrived back in Naco, Arizona, after 3 months away caring for her dying aunt in San Francisco, she found another woman wearing her wedding dress and standing beside the man she loved. The date was March 15th, 1884, and the spring sun beat down mercilessly on the dusty main street where a crowd had gathered outside the small wooden church, throwing rice at the happy couple who emerged through the doors with linked arms and brilliant smiles. Olivia stood frozen at the edge of the crowd, her travel worn carpet bag slipping from numb fingers to land in the dirt. The woman in the ivory satin gown turned her face toward the cheering townspeople, and Olivia's heart stopped completely. That face was her own. Those dark curls pinned beneath the delicate veil belonged to her younger sister Iris, and the tall, broad-shouldered rancher beaming down at his new bride was Thomas Hartwell, the man who had proposed to Olivia herself just 4 months earlier, slipping a gold band on her finger beneath the cottonwood tree by Miller's Creek and promising her forever. The ring was still in Olivia's reticule, carefully wrapped in silk. She had worn it on a chain around her neck during her journey to California, not wanting to risk losing it. Thomas had insisted she go to her aunt when the telegram arrived announcing the elderly woman's illness. He had kissed her goodbye at the stage depot and sworn he would count every hour until her return. They had planned a summer wedding, something simple and sweet, when the desert bloomed with wildflowers. Now Olivia watched as Thomas lifted Iris into his arms and carried her toward a waiting wagon decorated with white ribbons. The crowd laughed and clapped. Someone played a fiddle. Olivia felt the world tilt sideways, her corset suddenly too tight, her lungs unable to draw breath. She stumbled backward, colliding with a solid wall of muscle and leather. Strong hands caught her elbows, steadying her before she could fall. "Easy there, miss. You all right?" The voice was deep, rough-edged, concerned. Olivia looked up into a pair of striking gray eyes set in a tanned, weathered face. The man wore the practical clothing of a working cowboy, dusty denim pants, a worn leather vest over a faded blue shirt, and a brown Stetson pushed back on his head to reveal sun-bleached hair the color of wheat. A bandana hung loosely around his neck, and he smelled of horses, sage, and honest sweat. Olivia's voice came out as barely a whisper. She tried again. "That woman, the bride." The cowboy followed her gaze, his expression turning thoughtful. "Mrs. Hartwell? Pretty little thing. Just married Tom Hartwell not 20 minutes ago." He paused, studying Olivia's face more carefully. His eyes widened. "Christ almighty. You look just like her. She's my sister." The words felt like glass in Olivia's throat. "And I'm supposed to be Mrs. Hartwell. I'm Olivia Fletcher. Thomas and I were engaged before I left for San Francisco." The cowboy's jaw tightened. "That's Iris Fletcher up there claiming to be you?" Olivia nodded, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. "She must have taken my letters. Thomas wrote to me every week while I was gone. I never received a single one, and I sent him letters too, explaining that my aunt's condition was worse than we thought, that I would be delayed." A horrible realization crashed over her. She intercepted everything. She made him think I had abandoned him, and then she came here pretending to be me. The cowboy let out a low whistle. "That's about the lowest thing I've ever heard." He released her elbows but stayed close, as if afraid she might collapse. "Name's Zachary Winters. I work the Double R Ranch about 10 miles north of here. Been in town picking up supplies." He gestured toward a loaded wagon near the general store. "I'm real sorry about what's happened to you, Miss Fletcher. That ain't right by any measure." Olivia finally looked away from the departing wedding party, meeting Zachary's steady gaze. Something in those gray eyes steadied her, gave her strength. "I need to get my life back. My name, my reputation. Thomas needs to know the truth. Seems to me that's exactly what you need to do." Zachary shifted his weight, hooking his thumbs in his belt. "But you look about ready to fall over." When's the last time you ate? The question caught Olivia off guard. She tried to remember and realized she had been too anxious to eat breakfast at the boarding house in Tucson where she had spent the previous night. Yesterday evening, I think. Zachary shook his head. Come on then. Lucy's Cafe serves a decent meal, and you need your strength if you're going to face down your sister and set things right. Can't fight battles on an empty stomach. Olivia wanted to protest, to rush immediately to Thomas's ranch and confront the terrible deception. But her knees felt weak and her head light, and the genuine kindness in Zachary Winters's eyes made something in her chest ease just slightly. Thank you. That's very kind. He picked up her fallen carpet bag and gestured toward the far end of the street where a small restaurant sat wedged between the telegraph office and a saddle shop. As they walked, Olivia became aware of curious stares from townspeople who had noticed her resemblance to the new bride. Whispers followed in their wake. Lucy's Cafe was blessedly dim and cool after the bright street. Only a handful of patrons occupied the scattered tables, and a plump woman with gray hair pinned in a neat bun emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Zachary Winters, haven't seen you in a month of Sundays. Your usual? The woman's eyes landed on Olivia and widened. Good gracious, I just saw you get married not half an hour ago. How did you change so fast? This is Miss Olivia Fletcher, Lucy. The real one. Zachary's voice was firm but gentle. Long story, and she needs food. Bring us whatever you've got hot. Lucy's expression shifted from confusion to understanding to outrage in the span of seconds. That little snake. I heard the Fletcher family had 2 daughters, but I'll be damned. She's been parading around town for weeks claiming to be you, saying she got back early from California. She shook her head. Sit, honey. I'll bring you chicken stew and fresh bread. And coffee, strong enough to wake the dead. Olivia sank into a chair at a corner table, and Zachary settled across from her, removing his hat and setting it on an empty chair. In the softer light, she could see he was perhaps 26 or 27, with fine lines around his eyes from squinting into the sun and a small scar cutting through his left eyebrow. His hands were calloused and capable, the hands of a man who worked hard for his living. Tell me everything, he said quietly. Start from the beginning. So Olivia did. She told him about meeting Thomas Hartwell 2 years ago when he had come to Naco to purchase land for his cattle ranch. About their courtship, proper and sweet, walks along the creek and Sunday dinners with her father and stepmother. About Iris, her younger sister by 2 years, beautiful and charming, but always harboring a streak of jealousy. About the telegram that arrived in November announcing Aunt Margaret's illness and Thomas insisting Olivia go to care for the elderly woman who had raised her after her mother's death. I didn't want to leave, Olivia said, accepting a cup of coffee from Lucy with grateful hands. But Aunt Margaret had no one else, and Thomas said 3 months wasn't forever. He gave me his ring and made me promise to come back. She pulled the silk-wrapped band from her reticule, unwrapping it with trembling fingers. The gold gleamed in the lamplight. I wore it around my neck the whole time, and I wrote to him every week, but he never wrote back. I thought maybe he was angry I had been gone so long, or that something had happened. But now I know Iris must have been intercepting the mail. Zachary studied the ring, his jaw tight. How did she pull it off? How did your family let this happen? My father died last year. Pneumonia. My stepmother remarried and moved to Texas with her new husband. Iris and I were supposed to stay with the Hendersons, family friends in town, until my wedding. Olivia's hands curled into fists around her coffee cup. Iris must have told everyone she was me, that I had come back from San Francisco. We looked so alike, especially from a distance. Same dark hair, same build. She knew Thomas wouldn't look too closely, not if she wore the right clothes and said the right things. But your voice, your mannerisms, surely he would notice. We sound similar too, and Iris always was good at imitating people. Olivia's voice broke slightly. I should have known. She was always competitive with me, Always wanted what I had, but I never thought she would go this far. Lucy arrived with 2 steaming bowls of stew, thick with chicken, potatoes, and carrots, along with a basket of bread still warm from the oven. Eat, she commanded, both of you. And Olivia, honey, everyone in this town is going to know the truth before nightfall. I'll make sure of it. Olivia managed a weak smile. Thank you, Lucy. As they ate, Zachary asked careful questions, drawing out more details about the timeline, about when Iris must have arrived in Naco, about what lies she had told to cover her deception. Olivia found herself relaxing slightly in his presence. There was something solid and trustworthy about him, a quiet strength that made her feel less alone. I need to go to Thomas's ranch today, she said finally, pushing away her half-empty bowl. The food had helped, but anxiety still churned in her stomach. He deserves to know the truth. And I need to confront Iris. Zachary nodded slowly. I'll take you. You don't have to do that. You've already done so much. Miss Fletcher, your sister just stole your entire life. You think I'm going to let you walk into that hornet's nest alone? He finished his coffee and stood, retrieving his hat. Besides, having a witness might help your case. And if things get ugly, you might need someone on your side. Olivia's throat tightened with gratitude. I don't even know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. Let's see if we can fix this mess first. He pulled out his pocket watch, checking the time. It's just past noon. They probably went straight to the ranch after the ceremony. We can be there in less than an hour if we take the main road. They settled the bill with Lucy, who refused to let Olivia pay and sent them off with a package of bread and cold chicken wrapped in cloth. For the road, she said firmly. And Zachary, you take care of our girl. Yes, madam. Zachary's wagon was a simple flat bed loaded with supplies covered by canvas. He helped Olivia onto the bench seat with courteous efficiency, then climbed up beside her and took the reins. The 2 horses, a matched pair of sturdy bays, started forward at his gentle command. As they left Naco behind, the landscape opened into vast stretches of desert scrubland dotted with mesquite and palo verde trees. Mountains rose in the distance, purple and hazy in the afternoon heat. The sky stretched endlessly blue overhead, and despite everything, Olivia felt a pang of recognition. She had missed this harsh, beautiful country during her months in San Francisco. How long have you worked at the Double R? She asked, partly to distract herself from her churning thoughts. About 4 years now. Came out from Kansas after my father died. Needed a fresh start. Zachary kept his eyes on the road, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. It's good work, hard but honest. The Richardsons, who own the ranch, treat their men fair. Do you like it here, in Arizona? A small smile touched his lips. Most days, it's different from Kansas. Hotter, drier, more dangerous in some ways. But there's something about this land that gets in your blood, makes you feel alive. Olivia nodded, understanding completely. I felt the same way when I first came here with my father. I was 16. We moved from Missouri after my mother died. I thought I would hate the desert, but it became home. They fell into a comfortable silence, the wagon rolling steadily along the rutted road. Olivia found herself studying Zachary's profile, the strong line of his jaw, the way his capable hands held the reins with easy confidence. He had stepped in to help her without hesitation, a stranger willing to fight for justice simply because it was the right thing to do. In her experience, such men were rare. Can I ask you something? Zachary's voice broke the silence. Of course. Do you still love him, Thomas Hartwell? The question caught Olivia off guard. She thought about it carefully, examining her heart. I don't know, she said finally, honestly. I thought I did. I agreed to marry him. But now, finding out he married someone else so quickly, even if he thought she was me, she trailed off, uncertain. I don't know if I can forgive that. How could he not know the difference? People see what they expect to see, Zachary said quietly. If he was expecting you to come home and a woman showed up claiming to be you, looking like you, maybe he didn't question it, especially if she had convincing answers for any doubts he might have had. Maybe. Olivia twisted her hands in her lap. But I feel like he should have known. In his heart, shouldn't he have known something was wrong? Zachary glanced at her, something unreadable in his gray eyes. Reckon that's something you'll have to decide for yourself. But either way, you deserve your name back, your life back. That ain't negotiable. The conviction in his voice warmed something in Olivia's chest. Thank you, Zachary, for believing me, for helping me. Call me Zach. And you don't need to keep thanking me, Olivia. This is just what decent people do for each other. Another comfortable silence fell between them. The road stretched on, the sun climbing higher. Olivia tried to prepare herself mentally for the confrontation ahead. What would she say to Thomas? To Iris? How could she prove she was who she claimed to be? Do you have anything that might help prove your identity? Zach asked, as if reading her thoughts. Letters? Documents? Anything with your handwriting? Olivia's eyes widened. Yes, my aunt's will. She left me her house in San Francisco and some money. The lawyer gave me a copy of the document, and it has my signature, and I have a photograph of me and Aunt Margaret taken just before she died. The photographer gave me 2 copies. She dug through her carpet bag, producing a leather portfolio. Inside was the folded will and 2 small photographs. Zach glanced at them and nodded. That should help, and Lucy and others in town can vouch that you just arrived today, while your sister has been there for weeks. But what if Thomas doesn't believe me? What if he thinks I'm Iris trying to cause trouble? Then he's a bigger fool than I thought. Zach's voice was hard. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The Hartwell Ranch appeared in the distance about 40 minutes later, a sprawling property with a large wooden ranch house, several outbuildings, and extensive corrals filled with cattle. It was more prosperous than Olivia had expected, evidence of Thomas's success over the past 2 years. As they approached, Olivia's stomach clenched with nerves. White ribbons still decorated the porch railings, and she could see several horses tied near the barn, suggesting wedding guests were still present. Zach pulled the wagon to a stop near the main house and set the brake. You ready for this? Olivia took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. No, but it has to be done. He climbed down and came around to help her, his hand steady on her waist as he lifted her from the high seat. For just a moment, she found herself very close to him, close enough to see the darker ring of charcoal around the edges of his gray irises, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from his solid frame. Something flickered in his eyes, quickly masked. I'm right here with you, he said quietly. Whatever happens. Before Olivia could respond, the front door of the ranch house opened, and Thomas Hartwell emerged, still wearing his wedding suit, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He was a handsome man, tall and dark-haired with a neat mustache and confident bearing. Behind him came Iris, still in the wedding dress, her face glowing with triumph. Thomas's eyes landed on Olivia, and his expression froze. The glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the porch boards. What in the hell? Iris went pale, all the color draining from her face. Thomas, I can explain. Explain what? Thomas's voice rose, confusion and anger warring in his tone. He looked between Olivia and Iris, his face bewildered. What is this? Some kind of joke? Olivia stepped forward, her legs steadier than she expected. I'm Olivia Fletcher, the real Olivia, your actual fiancée who just returned from San Francisco today. That woman you just married is my sister Iris, and she's been impersonating me. Thomas's jaw dropped. Behind him, wedding guests began emerging from the house, drawn by the commotion. Iris grabbed Thomas's arm, her voice high and desperate. Don't listen to her. She's lying. I'm Olivia. She's obviously Iris, trying to cause trouble because she's jealous. Is that so? Zach's voice cut through the chaos, calm and authoritative. He pulled the portfolio from Olivia's bag and opened it. Then how do you explain this will, dated just 3 weeks ago in San Francisco, leaving Margaret Fletcher's estate to Olivia Fletcher, or this photograph of Olivia with her aunt? Or the fact that the real Olivia just arrived in Naco this morning on the stage from Tucson while you've been here pretending to be her for weeks? He handed the documents to Thomas, who took them with shaking hands. The rancher stared at the will, at the photograph, at Olivia's signature. His face went gray. Thomas, please. Iris's voice broke on a sob. Don't you know me? I'm your wife. We just took vows. You know me. Thomas looked up at Olivia, really looked at her, and she saw the moment recognition dawned in his eyes. Horror followed quickly after. Your voice, it's slightly different. And your eyes. He stepped closer, ignoring Iris's protests. Olivia's eyes have a gold ring around the pupil. I noticed it the first time we met. He turned to Iris, roughly pulling her toward him and forcing her to look up. You don't have that. I never noticed before because I never looked closely enough. Thomas, I love you, Iris cried, tears streaming down her face. I love you more than she ever could. I wanted to be her because I knew I could make you happier. You lied to me! Thomas's roar made several people flinch. You stole your own sister's life. You made me commit bigamy for Christ's sake. He shoved Iris away from him and crossed to Olivia, his face a mask of anguish. Olivia, God, I'm so sorry. I should have known. I should have seen. You should have. Olivia's voice was steady, though tears blurred her vision. You should have known I would never stop writing to you. You should have questioned why I supposedly came back but never sought you out immediately. You should have felt that something was wrong. Thomas reached for her hands, but she stepped back, and Zach moved almost imperceptibly closer to her side. Thomas noticed, his eyes narrowing slightly as he took in the cowboy's protective stance. Who are you? Thomas demanded. Zachary Winters. I work the Double R. I met Miss Fletcher this morning and offered to help her reclaim what's rightfully hers. Zach's voice was even, but there was steel beneath the words. Seemed like the decent thing to do. Thomas's face flushed. This is between me and my fiancée. Your wife, actually, Zach corrected. Legally, you're married to Iris Fletcher now. That makes things considerably more complicated. The truth of that statement hung heavy in the air. Thomas looked back at Iris, who had collapsed on the porch steps, sobbing into her hands. The wedding guests whispered among themselves, scandal spreading like wildfire. We'll get an annulment, Thomas said desperately. We'll explain what happened. It was fraud. The marriage isn't valid. That's going to take time, Olivia said quietly, and lawyers. And it's going to be a scandal that follows all of us. She looked at Iris, trying to summon anger but finding only a hollow sadness. Why? Why did you do this? Iris looked up, mascara streaking her face. Because you always got everything. Mother loved you more before she died. Father doted on you. Thomas chose you. I wanted something of my own for once. I wanted to be you because being me was never enough. So you destroyed us both. Olivia's voice was quiet but firm. Because that's what you've done, Iris. You've destroyed any chance of a relationship between us, and you've destroyed any future you might have had with Thomas. He'll never forgive you for this. And neither will I. She turned to Thomas, pulling the engagement ring from her reticule and holding it out. I release you from our engagement, Thomas. I don't want to marry someone who couldn't tell the difference between me and an imposter. Zach is right that the annulment will be complicated, but that's your problem now, not mine. Thomas stared at the ring, then at Olivia. You can't mean that. Olivia, I love you. This was all a terrible mistake, but we can fix this. We can still have our future together. No, we can't. Olivia was surprised by how certain she felt. Because I don't love you anymore, Thomas. Maybe I never really did. I thought I did, but real love should be stronger than this. It should survive 3 months apart. It should know the truth, even when faced with lies. She pressed the ring into his palm and closed his fingers around it. I hope you and Iris can sort out this mess, but I won't be part of it. She turned to Zach. Can we go? I'd like to leave now. Zach nodded, his eyes warm with what looked like pride. Absolutely. As they walked back to the wagon, Iris's sobs echoed behind them, along with Thomas's pleading voice calling Olivia's name. But Olivia didn't look back. Zach helped her onto the wagon seat, then climbed up beside her and started the horses moving. They were half a mile down the road before Olivia finally let herself cry, great heaving sobs that shook her entire body. Zach pulled the wagon to a stop under the shade of a large mesquite tree and simply waited, not trying to comfort her with empty words, just being present. When the storm finally passed, he handed her a clean bandana from his pocket. Thank you, she whispered, wiping her face. You did good back there. Took courage to walk away. I don't feel courageous. I feel like my whole life just fell apart. Your old life fell apart, Zach corrected gently. That's different. Gives you a chance to build a new one, maybe a better one. Olivia looked at him through swollen eyes. You really believe that? I do. I've seen it happen. Hell, I lived it. When my father died and I lost our farm in Kansas, I thought my world was ending. But coming out here, starting over, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. You got dealt a rotten hand, Olivia. But you're still holding some good cards. You've got your aunt's inheritance. You've got your real name back. You've got your freedom. That's not nothing. She considered his words, finding unexpected wisdom in them. You're right. It's not nothing. She straightened her shoulders, determination replacing despair. I need to establish my identity legally, make sure everyone in Naco knows I'm the real Olivia Fletcher, and I need to find somewhere to stay while I figure out what to do next. The Henderson house where you and Iris were supposed to be staying, they'd probably take you in. Olivia shook her head. No, too many memories and too much explaining to do. I'll stay at the boarding house for now. She looked at Zach, really looked at him for the first time since this nightmare began. You've helped me so much today, Zach. I know you need to get back to your ranch, but would you mind terribly taking me back to town first? I promise this will be the last favor I ask. It's no favor and it's no trouble. Besides, I told Lucy I'd take care of you, and I keep my word. He started the horses moving again. And for what it's worth, I don't think you should worry too much about establishing your identity. Lucy will have spread the word by now. And once people see you and Iris side by side, hear you talk, they'll know the truth. Truth has a way of rising to the surface. He was right. When they arrived back in Naco, as the sun was beginning its descent toward the western mountains, it seemed like half the town was waiting on the main street. Lucy stood at the forefront of a small crowd, her face determined. Is it done? She called, as Zach pulled the wagon to a stop. Does everyone know the truth? They know, Olivia confirmed, climbing down with Zach's assistance. Thomas knows I'm the real Olivia, but he and Iris are married now, legally. It's going to be complicated to undo. Lucy made a disgusted sound. That conniving little snake. Don't you worry, honey. Everyone in this town will know you're the real Olivia Fletcher by sundown tomorrow. We take care of our own. She gestured to the crowd behind her. These folks all wanted to see for themselves that you're all right. For the next hour, Olivia found herself surrounded by well-meaning townspeople offering sympathy, support, and in some cases, righteous anger on her behalf. The sheriff, a grizzled man named Dalton, took her statement and assured her that if she wanted to press charges against Iris for fraud or identity theft, he would support it. I don't know yet, Olivia said honestly. She's still my sister despite everything. I need time to think. Through it all, Zach stayed by her side, a quiet, steadying presence. He didn't speak much, but his mere presence seemed to give Olivia strength. Finally, as the crowd began to disperse and the sun touched the mountain peaks, Lucy insisted on taking Olivia to the boarding house and getting her settled. You need rest, Lucy said firmly, and a proper meal and a good night's sleep. Tomorrow will help you sort everything else out. Olivia turned to Zach, not wanting to say goodbye, but knowing she had to. I don't know how I can ever repay you for today. You didn't have to help me, but you did, and I'll never forget that. Zach shifted his weight, looking almost uncomfortable. Like I said, it was just the decent thing to do. He hesitated, then added, but if you need anything else while you're getting settled, the Double R is only 10 miles north. Anyone can point you to it. Don't hesitate to send word if you need help. I won't. Olivia found herself not wanting him to leave, which was strange and unexpected. She had known this man for less than a day, but he had shown her more loyalty and kindness than Thomas had in 2 years. Will you be in town again soon? Something flickered in his gray eyes. Usually come in once a week or so for supplies. Might make it twice a week for a while, just to make sure you're doing all right. The thought warmed her more than it probably should. I'd like that. Lucy cleared her throat meaningfully, and Zach took the hint. He touched the brim of his hat in a gesture that was becoming familiar. Take care, Olivia. You're stronger than you think. She watched as he climbed back onto his wagon and drove away, his figure silhouetted against the sunset. Something in her chest ached, though whether from loss or the beginning of something new she couldn't say. The next week passed in a blur of legal proceedings and social adjustments. Olivia met with a lawyer Lucy recommended, a sharp-eyed woman named Mrs. Cordelia Barnes, who had studied law back east and set up practice in Arizona despite considerable opposition. Your case is unusual but straightforward, Mrs. Barnes said, reviewing the documents Olivia provided. You have clear proof of your identity and your whereabouts during the time your sister was impersonating you. The bigger question is whether you want to take legal action against your sister or simply establish the record. I just want my name and reputation back, Olivia said. I don't want to see Iris in jail. I want her to face consequences, but I don't know if I can be the one to impose them. Mrs. Barnes nodded. Understandable. I'll file the necessary paperwork with the territorial court to establish your identity beyond legal doubt. As for Mr. Hartwell's marriage to your sister, that's his problem to solve. He'll need to petition for annulment based on fraud, which should be granted given the circumstances, but it could take months. I won't be here months, Olivia realized suddenly. There's nothing keeping me in Naco anymore. My aunt left me her house in San Francisco. I could sell it or I could live there, start over somewhere new. You could, Mrs. Barnes agreed. Or you could stay here and build a new life in a place you already know. Don't let your sister's actions chase you away from your home, Miss Fletcher. The words resonated. Olivia thought about them as she walked back to the boarding house, past familiar storefronts and faces. Naco had been her home for 5 years. She had friends here, or at least friendly acquaintances. She loved the desert landscape, the big skies, the sense of possibility that permeated the Western territories. Why should she let Iris drive her away? That evening, as Olivia sat in the boarding house parlor trying to read, the landlady knocked on her door. Miss Fletcher, you have a visitor, a Mr. Winters? Olivia's heart leaped in a way that had nothing to do with anxiety and everything to do with anticipation. She found Zach in the small front room, hat in hands, looking slightly awkward among the delicate furniture and lace doilies. Zach, I didn't expect to see you until next week. He shrugged, a small smile playing at his lips. Had to come into town for some tack repairs anyway. Thought I'd check on you, make sure you're settling in all right. They went for a walk, the evening air cooling rapidly as the sun disappeared. Olivia told him about meeting with Mrs. Barnes, about the legal steps being taken to establish her identity and clear her name. Zach listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions. So you thinking of leaving? He asked finally, his voice carefully neutral. Going to San Francisco? I don't know. Mrs. Barnes suggested I stay, not let Iris chase me away. But there are so many memories here now. So much pain. There's pain everywhere, Zach said quietly. Question is whether you've got reasons to stay that outweigh the pain. Olivia glanced at him, wondering what he was really asking. I'm starting to think I might. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, ending up near the creek where Olivia had once walked with Thomas. The cottonwood tree stood dark against the stars, and she felt a pang of bitterness. I came here with Thomas once, she said. He proposed right under that tree. Seems like a lifetime ago now. Zach studied the tree, then looked at her. You regret walking away from him? No. Olivia was certain of that much. I meant what I said. If his love couldn't survive a simple test like my being away for a few months, it wasn't real love. It was just comfortable, convenient. What do you think real love looks like? The question caught her off guard. She thought about it, watching the stars reflect on the creek's dark surface. I think real love sees you. Really sees you, not just the surface, but everything underneath. I think it's steadfast, patient. I think it's willing to fight for you, even when fighting is hard. She paused. I think it looks like someone who helps a stranger reclaim her life because it's the right thing to do, even though there's nothing in it for him. In the starlight, she saw Zach's expression shift, something warm and vulnerable crossing his face. Might be something in it for him, he said quietly. Might be he looked at that stranger and saw someone worth fighting for. Someone brave and honest and strong, even when her world was falling apart. Olivia's breath caught. Zach, I know it's too soon, he said quickly. I know you just walked away from one man, and the last thing you need is another one complicating your life. But I'd be lying if I said I haven't been thinking about you every day since we met. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't hope you might stay in Naco, at least long enough to see if maybe there's something worth exploring between us. Olivia's heart hammered in her chest. A week ago, she had been prepared to marry Thomas Hartwell. Now here was Zachary Winters, a man she barely knew, but who had shown her more genuine care than her former fiancé ever had, looking at her like she was something precious. It is too soon, she said honestly. I don't trust my own judgment right now. I thought I loved Thomas, and I was so wrong. How can I trust what I feel? You can't, Zach agreed. Not yet, but you don't have to. I'm not asking you to make any promises or decisions. I'm just asking you to stay. Give yourself time to heal. Get to know who you are when you're not somebody's fiancé or somebody's victim. And if, after all that, you think there might be room in your life for a cowboy who thinks the sun rises and sets on you, well, I'll be around. Tears pricked Olivia's eyes, but they were good tears this time. I think I can do that. I think I want to do that. Zach's smile transformed his face, revealing a boyish charm beneath the weathered exterior. Good. That's real good, Olivia. They walked back to the boarding house slowly, neither wanting the evening to end. At the door, Zach touched her cheek gently, just the brush of calloused fingers against her skin, and then he was gone, disappearing into the night like something from a dream. Over the following weeks, a new rhythm established itself. Olivia moved out of the boarding house and into a small cottage on the edge of town that she rented from a widow looking for steady income. She took a job at Lucy's Cafe, helping with the cooking and serving customers. The work was hard but honest, and she found satisfaction in it. Mrs. Barnes made progress on the legal front, filing documents that established Olivia's true identity beyond any doubt. Word came from Thomas's lawyer that he was indeed seeking an annulment based on fraud, and that Iris had returned to Texas to stay with their stepmother. Olivia felt relief at that news. She wasn't ready to face her sister yet, might never be ready. But the best part of those weeks was Zach. He came to town twice a week without fail, always finding reasons to stop by the cafe or take Olivia for evening walks. They talked about everything, sharing stories from their pasts, dreams for their futures, opinions on topics ranging from cattle breeds to politics to the best way to make biscuits. Olivia learned that Zach had lost his mother when he was young, that he had a sister married and living in Colorado, that he loved the ranch work, but sometimes dreamed of having his own place someday. Zach learned about Olivia's childhood in Missouri, about her mother's death and her father's subsequent grief, about the aunt who had filled the maternal void and whose loss still ached. They didn't touch beyond the occasional brush of hands or his steadying grip on her elbow, didn't speak openly about the growing feelings between them. But those feelings were there, undeniable, building with each conversation and shared smile. One evening in late April, about 6 weeks after their first meeting, Zach arrived at the cafe just as Olivia was finishing her shift. "Got something to show you," he said, his eyes bright with excitement. "Can you spare an hour?" Intrigued, Olivia agreed. They rode in his wagon out of town, heading west toward the mountains. After about 20 minutes, Zach turned onto a narrow track that led to a small valley nestled between rolling hills. A creek ran through it, lined with cottonwoods just beginning to leaf out. The land was beautiful, sheltered, and green despite the desert surrounding it. "What is this place?" Olivia asked as Zach helped her down from the wagon. "It's mine, or it will be soon." Pride colored his voice. "I've been saving for years, and I finally have enough to buy it. 160 acres, creek-fed, good grazing. I can run my own cattle here, build my own place." He turned to her, suddenly nervous. "I wanted you to see it before I make the final decision." Olivia's heart swelled. "Why? Why did you want me to see it?" Zach took her hand, the first time he had done so deliberately. His palm was warm and rough against hers. "Because I'm hoping this might be your home someday too. Not now, not until you're ready, but someday, if you'll have me." Olivia looked at the land, at the creek and the trees and the endless sky, and she felt something settle in her chest. This place felt right. This man felt right. Maybe it was too soon. Maybe she was being foolish, but for the first time since discovering Iris's betrayal, she felt hope. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "And yes, I'd like that. Someday." Zach's smile was brilliant. He raised her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. "Then I'll buy it tomorrow, and I'll build you a house here, Olivia. A real home." They stayed until sunset, planning where the house might go, where the barns and corrals should be, talking about the future with an ease that felt natural, despite how little time they had known each other. When Zach finally took her back to town, Olivia felt lighter than she had in months. The annulment came through in June. Thomas's lawyer sent word that the marriage to Iris had been legally voided, the whole mess officially recognized as fraud. Olivia felt closure at the news, though she felt no desire to see Thomas. That chapter of her life was over. Zach broke ground on his new house in early July, and Olivia spent her free days helping however she could. The work was hot and exhausting, but she loved being part of creating something new. The house took shape slowly, a solid two-story structure with a wide porch and large windows to let in light. Other ranch hands from the Double R helped, along with neighbors who appeared seemingly out of nowhere to lend a hand, as was the way in the territory where everyone helped everyone else. Olivia cooked for the workers, learning to manage large meals, and found she had a knack for frontier hospitality. On a hot evening in late July, as the house neared completion, Zach and Olivia sat on the newly finished porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. They had been courting for 4 months now, though it felt both longer and shorter than that. "I love you," Zach said suddenly, his voice steady. "I know I probably should have said it more romantically, with flowers or something, but I can't hold it in anymore. I love you, Olivia Fletcher. I think I have since the day I caught you in my arms outside that church." Olivia turned to him, seeing the vulnerability in his gray eyes, the hope and fear mingling together. Her heart felt so full she thought it might burst. I love you too, Zach Winters. You gave me back my life, my name, my hope. But more than that, you gave me yourself. You've been patient and kind and steadfast, everything I didn't know I needed. Zach cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs stroking her cheekbones. Can I kiss you? I've been wanting to for months. Yes, Olivia breathed. Please, yes. His lips met hers gently at first, testing, asking permission. When she leaned into him, the kiss deepened, becoming something more. It was nothing like kissing Thomas had been. This was fire and sweetness, promise and passion. This was right. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Zach rested his forehead against hers. Marry me. I know we've only known each other a few months, but I'm certain you're who I want beside me for the rest of my life. Olivia laughed, the sound bright with joy. Yes, yes, Zach, I'll marry you. They were married in September, on a clear day when the desert showed its most beautiful face. The ceremony took place not in the church where Iris had married Thomas, but outside, under the cottonwoods, near the creek on Zach's land. Lucy officiated, having gotten herself ordained specifically for the occasion. The Double R ranch hands attended, along with half the town of Naco and several people who had traveled from neighboring areas. Olivia wore a simple dress of pale blue calico that she had sewn herself, with wildflowers in her hair. Zach wore his best shirt and pants, his hair neatly combed, his face shining with happiness. When they exchanged vows, both of them cried, thinking of the twisted path that had led them to this moment. Mrs. Barnes, who had become a good friend, served as Olivia's witness. I've seen a lot of legal cases in my time, she said in her toast at the reception, but I've never seen one with a happier ending than this. To Olivia and Zachary, proof that sometimes the worst things lead us to the best things. The party lasted until well after dark, with music and dancing, and enough food to feed twice the number of guests. As Olivia danced with her new husband under the stars, she thought about how different her life had turned out from what she had imagined. If Iris hadn't stolen her identity, Olivia would have married Thomas Hartwell and probably been content enough, never knowing she could have this blazing love with a man who truly saw her. It didn't excuse what Iris had done, and Olivia still wasn't sure she could forgive her sister, but she could acknowledge that sometimes terrible things cleared the path for better things to grow. What are you thinking about? Zach murmured, pulling her closer as they swayed to the music. I'm thinking that I'm happy, Olivia said simply. Really, truly happy. For the first time in a long time. Good. That's all I ever want for you. He kissed her forehead. You ready to start our life together, Mrs. Winters? The name sent a thrill through her. Mrs. Winters, not Mrs. Hartwell, which would have been borrowed and false. This name, this identity, was earned and real. More than ready. They spent their wedding night in the completed house in the bedroom Zach had built with his own hands. It was simple but comfortable, with windows that let in the moonlight and the sound of the creek below. They came together with tenderness and passion, learning each other's bodies, beginning the intimate dance that would sustain them through years to come. The first year of their marriage was hard work, but deeply satisfying. Zach built up his herd with careful purchases and good breeding practices. Olivia managed the house and started a small garden, learning to coax vegetables from the stubborn Arizona soil. They worked side by side from dawn to dusk and fell into bed each night, exhausted but content. Olivia occasionally heard news of Thomas and Iris. Thomas had apparently left Naco, selling his ranch and moving to Colorado to start over somewhere his scandal wasn't known. Iris remained in Texas with their stepmother, and rumor had it she had married a merchant there, though Olivia couldn't confirm it. She felt distant from those stories, as if they were about different people. In a way, they were. The Olivia, who had been engaged to Thomas Hartwell, felt like someone from another lifetime. In the spring of 1885, Olivia discovered she was pregnant. Zach was overjoyed. immediately becoming even more protective and tender than usual. Are you happy? He asked, his hands splayed across her still flat belly. Terrified and thrilled in equal measure, Olivia admitted. But yes, happy. So happy. Their son was born in November during a rare rainstorm that broke a months-long drought. Zach paced outside the bedroom where the midwife worked with Olivia, nearly wearing a path in the floorboards. When the baby's first cry rang out, he burst through the door, not waiting for permission. Olivia lay exhausted but beaming, holding a red-faced, squalling infant against her chest. It's a boy, she said unnecessarily. We have a son. Zach knelt beside the bed, tears streaming unashamedly down his face as he touched the baby's tiny fist with one finger. He's perfect. You're perfect. He looked at Olivia with such love it made her chest ache. Thank you. Thank you for this. For him, for everything. They named him Daniel, after Zach's father, and he grew into a sturdy, cheerful child who loved the ranch and everything on it. 2 years later, a daughter arrived, red-haired and fierce from the moment she entered the world. They named her Margaret, after Olivia's aunt, and she proved to be as spirited as her brother was steady. The years passed in the way years do on a working ranch, marked by seasons and cattle drives, by birthdays and holidays, by hard work and small triumphs. Zach's ranch prospered, becoming known throughout the territory for quality cattle and fair dealing. Olivia became a respected figure in Naco, known for her hospitality and her willingness to help neighbors in need. She never heard from Iris directly, though occasionally news filtered through mutual acquaintances. Iris had indeed married in Texas and had children of her own. Once, about 5 years after Olivia's wedding, a letter arrived, forwarded from Naco. It was from Iris. Olivia held it for a long time before opening it, not sure she wanted to read whatever her sister had to say. But curiosity and some lingering thread of familial connection made her break the seal. The letter was short. Iris apologized, not making excuses, but acknowledging fully what she had done and the pain she had caused. She said she thought about Olivia often, hoped she was well, hoped someday Olivia might forgive her. She didn't ask for a response or reconciliation, just wanted Olivia to know she was sorry. Olivia read the letter twice, then showed it to Zach. "What do you think?" she asked. Zach read it carefully, then handed it back. "I think you should do whatever feels right to you. If you want to forgive her, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. What she did was terrible, but it sounds like she understands that now." Olivia thought about it for several days. Finally, she wrote a brief response. She told Iris she accepted the apology, but wasn't ready for more than that. Might never be ready for more than that. But she acknowledged they were still sisters, and she didn't wish Iris ill. It was the most she could offer, and it felt right. She never heard from Iris again, but somehow the letter brought closure. Olivia could finally put that painful chapter completely behind her and focus on the beautiful life she had built. In 1890, Daniel turned 5 and started school in Naco, riding into town each morning with Olivia and returning in the afternoon. Margaret, just 3, stayed home and followed her father around the ranch, chattering constantly and getting into everything. Zach claimed she would be running the place by the time she was 10, and Olivia didn't doubt it. One evening that fall, after the children were in bed, Olivia and Zach sat on their porch as they had countless times before, watching the sun set over the land they loved. Zach had his arm around her shoulders, and she leaned into his warmth, feeling perfectly content. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Zach asked. "If your sister hadn't done what she did?" Olivia considered the question. "Sometimes, but I can't regret it, not when it led me here. To you, to our children, to this life. I wouldn't change any of it. Not even the pain, the betrayal, not even that, because it taught me what real love looks like. It taught me to be strong, to trust my own judgment. And it brought me you." She turned to look at him, this man who had stood by her through everything, who had given her not just his name, but his whole heart. "I love you, Zachary Winters." more every day. He kissed her, slow and deep, a kiss that held 6 years of marriage and all the years still to come. I love you too, Olivia Winters, my real wife, my true love, my partner in everything. They sat together as the stars came out, talking quietly about their plans for the ranch, about Daniel's progress in school, about Margaret's latest mischief. It was an ordinary evening in an ordinary life, and Olivia treasured it because she understood how precious ordinary could be. Years continued to pass. Daniel grew tall and serious, showing an aptitude for ranching that made Zach burst with pride. Margaret remained spirited and clever, developing a talent for horse training that impressed everyone who saw her work. In 1893, another son arrived, whom they named Zachary Jr., though everyone called him Junior to avoid confusion. He was quiet and thoughtful, with his mother's dark eyes and his father's steady nature. Olivia sometimes marveled at her life, at how full and rich it had become. She and Zach had built something real together, not just a ranch, but a family, a legacy, a love that deepened with time instead of fading. They weathered droughts and difficult winters, cattle diseases, and fluctuating markets, but they weathered them together. One day in the spring of 1895, a woman appeared at their door. She was older now, lines around her eyes, and silver threading through her dark hair, but Olivia recognized her immediately. Iris. I'm sorry to come unannounced, Iris said, her voice trembling slightly. I know I have no right to be here, but I was passing through Arizona on my way to California, and I couldn't get this close without stopping. I just wanted to see you, Olivia, to see that you're all right. Olivia stood frozen in the doorway, a thousand emotions warring inside her. Zach appeared behind her, his presence reassuring. It's all right, he murmured. Whatever you decide is all right. Olivia took a breath and stepped back. Come in, we can talk. They sat in the parlor, the air thick with tension and history. Iris looked around at the comfortable room, at the children's toys scattered near the fireplace, at the family photographs on the mantel. You have a beautiful home, she said softly. A beautiful life. I do, Olivia agreed. No thanks to you. Iris flinched but nodded. I deserve that. I deserve much worse than that. What I did to you was unforgivable, and I've lived with that knowledge every day since. She twisted her hands in her lap. I have children now too, 3 daughters, and every time I look at them, I think about what I would do if someone hurt them the way I hurt you. It makes me physically sick. Why are you here, Iris? Because I need you to know I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. And because I wanted to see that you're happy, that my actions didn't destroy you. Tears slipped down Iris's cheeks. I know I destroyed any chance of us being sisters again, but I needed to know you survived what I did, that you thrived despite it. Olivia looked at this woman who shared her blood, her history, her face. Once she had loved Iris as only a sister could. That love was gone, burned away by betrayal. But looking at Iris now, seeing the genuine remorse and pain, Olivia found she no longer hated her either. I did survive it, Olivia said quietly, and I did thrive. I have a husband who loves me truly, children who bring me joy, a home I built with my own hands. None of that would have happened if you hadn't done what you did. So in a twisted way, I suppose I should thank you. You don't mean that. I do. Not because what you did was right. It wasn't. You hurt me terribly. But sometimes terrible things clear the path for better things. I wouldn't have met Zach if you hadn't stolen Thomas from me. I wouldn't have this life, this family. Olivia took a deep breath. I accept your apology, Iris. I don't think we can ever be sisters again. Not really. But I don't hate you anymore either. I just feel nothing where you're concerned. Iris nodded, wiping her eyes. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. She stood, understanding she wasn't invited to stay longer. I hope you continue to be happy, Olivia. You deserve all the happiness in the world. After Iris left, Olivia stood on the porch watching the dust from her sister's departing wagon settle on the road. Zach came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pulling her back against his chest. You all right? He asked. Yes, Olivia said, surprised to find it was true. I thought seeing her again would hurt more, but it doesn't. That part of my life is truly over. This is my life now, with you and our children. Everything else is just history. History that made you who you are, Zach said, kissing the top of her head. And I love who you are. They went back inside, where Margaret was teaching Junior how to braid rope, and Daniel was studiously doing his schoolwork at the kitchen table. This was Olivia's real family, these people who loved her and needed her, and made every day worth living. The years continued their march. Daniel married a rancher's daughter from Tucson in 1899 and brought her home to the ranch, building a small house on the far side of the property. Margaret shocked everyone by falling in love with a schoolteacher from back east who had come to Naco looking for adventure. They married in 1902 and settled in town, where Margaret started a horse training business that became quite successful. Quiet Junior, turned out to have a gift for working with cattle that surpassed even his father's. He took over more of the ranch operations as Zach aged, allowing his parents more time to simply enjoy the life they had built. In 1905, on a warm September evening, much like the one when they had first married, Olivia and Zach celebrated their 20th anniversary. Their children and grandchildren, 4 of them now, with more surely on the way, gathered at the ranch for a party. There was music and dancing, food and laughter, stories and toasts. As the sun set, painting the sky in familiar shades of orange and pink, Zach took Olivia's hand and led her away from the crowd to the creek where they had been married. The cottonwoods had grown taller over the years, their branches spreading wide. 20 years, Zach said, pulling her into his arms. Best 20 years of my life. Mine too, Olivia said, looking up at this man, whose face she knew as well as her own. There was more gray in his hair now, more lines around his eyes, but he was still the cowboy who had caught her when she stumbled, who had fought for her when she needed a champion, who had loved her steadfastly through 2 decades of life. I love you, Olivia Winters. I loved you the day I met you, and I love you more with every year that passes. I love you too, Zachary Winters. You gave me back my name, my life, my hope. But more than that, you gave me love. Real love. The kind that lasts. They kissed as the sun disappeared behind the mountains. 2 people who had found each other through deception and pain, who had built something true and lasting from the ruins of betrayal. Behind them, they could hear their family laughing and celebrating the legacy they had created together. Olivia had been right all those years ago when she told Iris that terrible things sometimes cleared the path for better things. Her sister's betrayal had destroyed the life Olivia thought she wanted, but it had given her the life she truly needed. A life with Zachary Winters on a ranch in Arizona, surrounded by children and grandchildren, and the endless possibilities of each new day. As they walked back to rejoin the party, hand in hand as they had been for 20 years, Olivia thought about the frightened, heartbroken woman she had been that day outside the church in Naco. She wanted to tell that woman not to despair, that everything would work out better than she could imagine, that the cowboy who caught her when she fell would catch her for the rest of her life. That love, real love, was worth waiting for, worth fighting for, worth every moment of pain that led to finding it. But that woman didn't need to hear it. She had lived it, survived it, thrived through it. She had reclaimed her name and found her true identity, not as someone's fiancée or someone's victim, but as Olivia Winters, wife, mother, grandmother, rancher, survivor. A woman who knew her own strength, her own worth, her own heart. And as the stars came out over the Arizona desert, as her family gathered around her and her husband's hand held hers steady and sure, Olivia Winters smiled. Because all of this was her real happily ever after. Hard won, freely chosen, and absolutely perfect.